Right. So welcome everyone to our May Pull Up a Seat. We are so glad to have you here. I know that we'll be having more people that will be joining in the next probably 15 minutes or so. In the interim, wanted to get started with our program. Wanted to just share with you guys our agenda for the day. Introductions. Welcome to to our Pull Up a Seat. Share the 5 agreements about this space. For those who do not know, I am Shonda Cooper. I am one of the diversity and inclusion managers at Tigerlily Foundation, and I'm honored to also be a moderator for the Pull Up a Seat series. So we are going to have, after 5 agreements, we're going to have share about the reason for Pull Up a Seat, and then we'll hear from one of the co-founders of GRASP, Julia Maues, to share a little bit about GRASP. And then we're going to hear from our keynote speaker, Valencia Robinson, on lifestyle and the importance of lifestyle choices. And after that, we're going to break out into make this really interactive. And this is a breakout sessions. We're going to have our patient experts in each room in a breakout session. During those sessions, they're going to share a little bit more about their stories, share additional information based off of what we've received and what we've heard from Valencia Robinson during her keynote, and then we're going to have a conversation in those groups. The breakout sessions are not recorded, so we really want it to be an interactive space. For those who aren't on camera, if you could possibly put your camera on in the breakout session, it would be wonderful, so that at least during the time, we aren't looking, our patient experts aren't looking at black screens while they're talking. And this is also an opportunity for healthcare professionals to listen and really learn and hear about lifestyle, the importance of it, and also just being able to provide resources or whatever other additional information that they can receive, so that you can go back to your places of work and employment and be able to really make a difference and be able to create a change from hearing from a patient's perspective. And then we're going to come back together at the top of the hour at noon, and we're going to connect the data, connect the dots of what we learned through these breakout rooms through recap sessions. So each one of our patient experts will give a brief recap about what they received, or what were some takeaways, I would say, from our Pull Up a Seat and from the breakout room. And then it's going to be audience feedback. So if you have any questions, comments, please feel free at that time to be able to add that. And I would say that throughout the entire, throughout the presentations, throughout the conversations, please feel free to use the chat as you feel led. It's a fun space, so please make sure to use that. And then at the end, we'll talk about the way forward, some takeaways, closing remarks, and then also we'll be sharing information for our June Pull Up a Seat as well, and some other fun, exciting news. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our phenomenal patient experts. So we have with us Javacia Harris Bowser, Shanice Johnson, Lauren Tarplay, and Camille Lewis. And I would just like to ask Javacia, if you could go ahead and share, introduce yourself and share a bit about yourself and your story. I'm going to stop my share.
Hi, everyone. I'm Javacia Harris Bowser. I am based in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January of 2020. So while everyone was going through the pandemic, I was going through the pandemic and cancer treatments. But as far as what I do outside of that, I am a writer full-time. I'm a freelance journalist, and I also run an organization for women writers. And writing was a huge part of how I coped with my diagnosis, coped with treatment, and also how I seek to empower other survivors and thrivers and just women in general. So writing is a huge part of my life and has been a huge part of my breast cancer experience as well. Another thing that was a huge part of it was walking. I walked every single day in 2020 while I was going through treatment, and that was very empowering for me as well. And I was interviewed by Oprah Magazine for that, so I was excited about that. So I'm happy to be here.
So happy to have you here, Javacia, and thank you for sharing about your experiences and the importance of walking. And I'm glad that you were able to have that experience as well to be interviewed by Oprah, and just the importance of writing. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that and the work that you do that you've been doing in the breakout rooms as well. Lauren.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Tarplay. Happy to be here. Happy Friday, everyone. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer at the age of 34 in September of 2020. So, similar experience having to go through everything during a pandemic. I mean, it's still trickling down. I graduate radiation on Monday, and I can only have one person come see me ring the bell, which is still a blessing that my husband will be able to come through and video. But the pandemic is definitely making it a little harder mentally and for support for everyone. But I am based out of Charleston, and I'm really excited for today, really excited to get this information out there and start the wheels of change. I'm really excited about that.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for that. And Camille.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, please bear with me. I want to start off by saying that one of the horrific side effects for me personally from chemo was dropped words. So words will just drop. The chemo fog is still there, and I completed chemo in 2019, and I'm still like, wait, what? So bear with me. Thank you. I was diagnosed at 45 years old on Mother's Day in 2019. I completed treatment in January of 2019. And that was the actual scientific medical aspect. The latter physical therapy, OT therapy is going to be ongoing indefinitely, and I'm actively engaged in that right now doing Pilates. I have 2 sons, ages 15 and 22. I work in the Denver metro area here in Colorado, in the heart of the Jewish community at Road of Shalom, Shabbat Shalom today, as an anti-bias educator with 1-year-old all the way to pre-K. And in my other off time, I help my son coach. And I'm excited to talk about lifestyle as it pertains to women of color and cancer.
Thank you so much, Camille, for being here. And you have some comments in the chat of everyone who completely understands what you're going through with the drop board. So yeah. Oh, you're reading it. Okay, yes. So make sure to check that out. And last but not least, Shanice Johnson, welcome. If you could please introduce yourself as well and share about your story and share about yourself. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. It's been a rough week for me. Right now, I'm battling metastatic breast cancer, and I was first diagnosed in 2013 for breast cancer at the age of 24. It was definitely life-changing. And the same month that I was celebrating my 7-year survival mark, I found out that my cancer had returned in my bones and in my brain. So around actually COVID. So I understand as well, you all, that, it's been difficult not having someone there, getting the news, especially, they're telling me that my cancer returned and I'm here by myself, so it was really rough for me as well. So I'm battling that. It's been a rough week, but I'm happy to be here and to share, what it means to be a Black woman battling breast cancer. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Shanice, and thank you for being here, even in the midst of having a rough week. And I hope that this time will, encourage you and give you strength. Thank you for being able to, despite what is going on, to be able to be here, to be present, and to share, and to share your voice. It means so much. And thank you so much for being here and
Thank you.
participating in this. So now that we've heard from our phenomenal patient experts, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and share. Oops, 1 second. I'm going to share my screen and continue on and sharing about how to be in conversation. So for those who are participating here today, within the breakout sessions especially, please be mindful to monitor your airtime and speak from your truth and speak from your own experiences. Please lead with curiosity and not judgment. And most importantly, please keep the space safe. Our why are the patient experts, these who are women who are on this call. Our why is Shantae Randall, who you see here, who is just a phenomenal and just such a fighter, and a woman who really continued to just make strides despite having metastatic breast cancer. And so we honor her, and we continue to work towards advocating, educating, and empowering and supporting young women before, during, and after breast cancer. We envision and we really are working towards a future where breast cancer diagnosis doesn't inspire fear, but it ignites a hope for a future. And that's the reason why we're doing this. This is the reason why Tigerlily has been around. It was started when Mayma was diagnosed, the founder of Tigerlily at 31 years old with breast cancer, and having to be her own advocate and really, asking God to, if he spared her life, that she would dedicate her life towards helping other women, young women, to advocate for them on their behalf and be able to educate them. And so that's the reason why we are here. This is the reason why we have Pull Up a Seat, and we're doing this is to really help towards ending disparities. With the women who are on this call, there's no reason that they should have to be fighters and fight for care and fight for treatment and resources, despite fighting for their lives. So that's the reason why. I'll recap a little bit about some of the work that we've done. I won't go through the entire timeline, but this is really sort of shows a timeline of some of the policy advocacy work that we've done. Like I said, when we talk about like empowering and educating, it's also about advocating. And so through some of the Tigerlily Foundation initiatives that have taken place in programs, we've worked towards empowering advocates to be able to speak and share at the policy level as well to make change. And so in 2009, we helped to draft the EARLY Act, the Cancer Education and Awareness Requires Learning Young Act, and with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And we worked as well in 2011 we were appointed to the Federal Advisory Committee for Breast Cancer in Young Women. And from 2015, Tigerlily Foundation helps to fly young women to DC to meet with 74 members of Congress to support the PALS legislation. We launched our NBC Disparities Advocacy and Educational Outreach campaign in 2019 with a Day on the Hill in partnership with grassroots and state and local, national and global health partners. And then in 2020, last year, we assembled our first cohort, angel cohort, first cohort of 20 Black women representing the cities in which Black women have the highest mortality rates for a year, of intensive and immersive programming that mobilizes young Black women for outreach and impact in their communities and in the places that they live and work. And I will share a slide because we are in the process of recruiting again. So for those who are interested and feel called to speak, to empower, to share, this is a great space to do that with a lot of really phenomenal programming and material. There's been a lot of love and dedication and time that has been put into all of these different training modules that will be taking place over the next 8 months. So the cohort begins in June, and I will share that information towards the end, but if, I'm not sure if Lizzie is on, but if so, or Janisha, if you could just drop in the chat the form for those who are interested and feel called to participate and would like to apply to that program. Also, please make sure to share that if you are a patient expert and you participated in Pull Up a Seat before, make sure to let us know so that we can, you know, add that in there. So in December 2020, we have the Early Act was reauthorized in 2020. And then, like I mentioned, we also are launching a policy advocacy training within that ANGELS program that I just described. That was incorporated in March of this year. So these are some of our MBC Angel advocates. Yes, so these are some of the women that have been a part of the program and the areas of impact. So for those who is your first time coming on to Pull Up a Seat, this is actually our a two-part program. We had our No More Disparities conversation, which was last week, which is a for us, by us conversation for and by Black women to really have honest conversations about health equity, health inequality as well, and implicit racial biases and lessons learned. And we discussed that really through a lifestyle, the lens of health, also sort of feeling you know, if there's any guilt as well, wondering when someone was diagnosed, was it because of something that they did in terms of their food that they were intaking or lifestyle choices, and also the resources that were provided to them. So we had a really great conversation. And for our allies, we really encourage you to come on and listen into that. It's a great listening exercise. Pull Up a Seat is a bi-directional conversation. So we would like allies to participate and to be able to be a part of the breakout rooms to have a conversation with these phenomenal women and our medical professionals and our keynote speaker. So now I'm going to hand it over to our partner, GRASP, to share more about what their work that they're doing, and as well as the reason for you know, this great partnership that we started last fall, I would say officially with the Pull Up a Seat, but the partnership with Tigerlily has been much longer than that. So handing it over to you, Julia.
Thank you, Shonda. It's really great to be here. I'll just give you a little overview of what GRASP is. So GRASP is an organization that was founded by Christine Hodgson, who's on as an ally, and me, and we both have metastatic breast cancer. So Shanice, I've been living with it for 8 years. Christine has been living with it for 5 years. There are other women on this call that have been living with metastatic breast cancer. So just being diagnosed is really hard, and having to do that during the pandemic is like, there are no words for that. So we're here as allies, really, to the fact that not only do you all have the problem of being diagnosed with breast cancer and dealing with cancer in your lives, but on top of that, you stack the racism in our society. So as white women, we feel strongly that we need to be doing something, because it is not a problem of Black people. It is a problem of our society. And in fact, it is mostly created by us. So we feel strongly that we needed to be doing something. And we came together with MEMA and Tigerlily and decided to bring the model of the organization that we founded, which is that patients are experts in living with cancer, and that we need to highlight that expertise and bring it to all the decision-making tables. So we bring patients together with researchers at science conferences so that they learn from each other and talk about the science. Our Pull Up a Seat effort kind of changes that a little bit, and instead of discussing science, it discusses the experience of Black women with breast cancer, and they are the experts at that. They are the center of these small groups, and other people are listening to them and learning from them.
Thanks, Julia, and so glad to have you. Yes, you and Christine continuing to work towards this as well. So now I'm going to share my screen and introduce our keynote speaker, Valencia Robinson, who we are delighted to have with us today. Valencia, so I'm going to introduce her quickly. So since the day of her diagnosis of triple negative breast cancer, at the age of 33, Valencia has been committed to serving the community in an effort to raise awareness of breast disease. She has attended Project LEAD, the San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium, and AACR. AACR. She is a board member for the Florida Breast Cancer Foundation, Triple Negative Breast Cancer Clinical Study Patient Advisory Board, and reviewer for the DoD BCRP, an advocate with the patient-led group, the Light Collective, a member of the Physical Sciences Oncology Education and Outreach Group, and the Oncology Nursing Society. She is also an editor for the Molecular Biophysics and Biochemistry Department at Yale University. She was awarded the 2019 Grassroots Advocacy Award by the National Breast Cancer Coalition. Her passion to help patients and survivors of cancer, especially breast cancer in all areas, legislation, research, and therapeutics, and overall well-being as a patient advocate shines through in all the work that she continues to do. Valencia, we're so delighted to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanda.
Okay.
All right. So it's so great to be here to share with you all today. I'm going to jump right in here. In 1995, my father died of pancreatic cancer. He was an alcoholic and he used drugs. In 2011, my Uncle Sam, who drank heavily, died of stomach cancer. My grandfather died of cancer. My grandfather's sisters died of cancer. Some of their children died of cancer. 2019, I lost an aunt to metastatic cancer. She never had treatment. I went to a funeral last weekend. My uncle died of cancer, and my aunt Sheila now has stage 4 lung cancer. I was born in Mississippi, but grew up on a farm in Marianna, Florida, not knowing anything about diseases or my family's history. Not once did my mother ever tell me to examine my breast for lumps. I left home at 17 to attend college, and I started my teaching career at the age of 21, the very next day after I graduated from college. 12 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 33. My children were 3, 4, 5, and 8. I was teaching high school English, and I had to have a lumpectomy, chemotherapy, bilateral mastectomy, and oophorectomy. My sister was diagnosed 3 years ago. So there were several lifestyle changes that I needed to make. My oncologist told me that I may not make 5 years with the triple negative disease that I had, but she also told me that she would do everything she could to help me beat my cancer. So I'm just going to share a few things today that I learned on my journey. Many of these things you may already know, but it's so good to be reminded. Number 1, science says take a nap, afternoon naps or mid-morning naps, whenever. Naps are good for more than a pick-me-up. They help keep us sharp. Adults who nap regularly perform better on dementia screening tests that measured things like memory, attention span, locational awareness, and verbal fluency. Napping benefits the mind because it compensates for not getting enough sleep at night. Sleep helps the body regulate its inflammatory response, and chronic inflammation can cause cancer, and it's linked to cognitive troubles over time. I don't know about you, but I don't want to survive breast cancer to later in life get dementia. And if sleeping is all it takes, I say put down your cell phone, turn off the TV, and get yourself better sleep. I know a lot of us love our social media, but I say mindlessly scrolling through your feed can get in the way of beneficial activities like sleeping, exercising, reading, spending time outside, and just interacting with the world. And after good sleep, we must eat healthy and what is nutritious. Eat foods that boost your brain and your memory, like fatty fish. And I know fish can contain mercury, so we have to choose the low mercury fish whenever possible, and consume fish with moderate levels of mercury only in moderation. But we need to be eating Our blueberries and broccoli and turmeric, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, nuts, all of these foods boost our memory and our brain. We must eat for energy. 2 servings of fruit each day, 3 servings of vegetables like broccoli, again, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, cabbage, cauliflower, collard greens, kale. These vegetables actually contain chemicals that fight cancer in several ways. And it's best to grow your own or shop from your local farmer. Now we have to talk about our body weight. And the most interesting article that I read recently in Prevention Magazine is entitled Rethinking Fatness. And it says, automatically associating body size with health is misguided. Weight and health are not necessarily connected. There's no evidence that suggests that higher weight leads to poor health. If you're extremely large, of course, you probably will have problems with joints and mobility, making it more difficult to exercise and do normal daily tasks. But the article says focusing on other health measures like sleeping more, eating better, drinking less alcohol are much more important things that we should be working towards. Your genes, ethnicity, the medicines you take, where you live, and how much you sleep all play a role in your body weight. There's no clear relationship between weight loss and health outcomes. Shedding pounds may not necessarily lower your risk of diabetes, cholesterol, or blood pressure. I'm currently dealing with high cholesterol. And my oncologist says, even if I lose weight, which I really don't have much to lose, I'll probably still have problems with my cholesterol because for me, it's probably genetics. Heavy people who do healthy things are likely to thrive as anyone else. Healthy behaviors are way more important than the number on the scale. Being physically active, eating nutritious whole foods, not processed food, not smoking, socializing enough to avoid isolation, minimizing stress, managing depression are all things that we should be considering daily. So you can be fat and fit. Instead of trying to shrink your body, start to appreciate everything your body does for you. And don't let people fat shame you, but do make sure you are sufficiently active. And take your vitamins, preferably with a meal, especially that vitamin D. Black women are more prone to be vitamin D deficient. And it really needs to be taken with a meal when you are eating those healthy, fatty foods that vitamin D absorbs better in your body. I've been taking vitamins since my cancer diagnosis. My oncologist shared with me research on finding the right multivitamin that she found for herself. And everything was in a box, and it was 7 little pills in a packet that she took daily. So I started purchasing the brand that she purchased. And during this pandemic, that's the only thing we've been hearing. Take your vitamin D3, your vitamin B, your vitamin C, your zinc, your multivitamin, your antioxidants, elderberry to help fight COVID, to boost up your immune system so you don't get COVID. But most of the patients that I work with, they're not told to take vitamins when they're going through treatment. So we have to make sure we're reading and educating ourselves. We're getting our blood work done consistently and monitoring our own health better. My oncologist, she introduced me to yoga during my treatment. It was the hardest thing ever. After I finished chemo, I had both breasts removed. I had my ovaries removed. And I had a failed reconstruction because of infection. The expanders had to come out. I had nurses coming to my house every day to change my wounds, to address my wounds. And then they decided that a wound vac was the easiest thing for me. So I was attached to a wound vac for months to close the holes in my chest. And as soon as I started to heal, my oncologist offers me to come to her office to do yoga with her staff. The same place where I had just had chemo months earlier. We moved the chemo chairs and practiced yoga in her office. and we were all struggling participants. I was the only cancer patient, and I was practicing with her office staff. It was so difficult mastering the breathing, holding downward dog. She also taught classes at a local studio, and I began to participate in those as well. Talk about lifestyle change. It was extremely difficult. I had no strength in my arms. It was so very difficult, but I kept saying to myself, I want to live. I want to get to this 5-year point. I want to live to see my kids graduate. I want to live to see my grandchildren. I want to travel the world. I want to continue to impact the students that I teach. I just have to beat this cancer. And it has been amazing, the healing benefits of yoga. Yoga helps to boost your circulation. Poses like downward facing dog or any inversions help boost your circulation, because when you return to an upright position, gravity drains the lymph, and the lymphatic system is 96% water. So if your body is even mildly dehydrated, lymph flow is slower. So we need to be drinking 8 ounces of water first thing in the morning, and then of course, several cups throughout the day, preferably purified water. And give yourself a massage, but you need to talk to your doctor about this if you're in active treatment. Before COVID, I would get a massage once a month. That was my treat to myself. It stimulates the lymphatic system, it improves circulation, reduces stress hormones, increases joint mobility and flexibility, relaxation. There's so many things that massages can do for you to improve your overall health. And if you can't go get a massage, then massage yourself, get a partner. There's so many ways. You can Google ways to massage your tendons, your feet, your bones. It's so powerful. And I know yoga is not for everyone, but you can't be in a rut with your fitness routine. We are built to squat, to lift, to rotate. That's how our bodies are supposed to move. We have to be sufficiently active. We must take the steps instead of the elevator. We must go for a morning walk. We must schedule a sport or activity that we love. Even if you cheat in your eating, you eat more servings, you eat that dessert. What will help balance that out is being sufficiently active. Movement matters. Try something new. If your usual workout is feeling stale, try something out of your comfort zone. And there's so many apps and workout routines, free YouTube videos on strength training, ab workouts, boxing, Zumba, African dance, Tai Chi. You have to be sufficiently active. Exercise with your family, your friends, your neighbors, whatever it takes for you to get it done. Dance. Get your playlist of your favorite songs and dance during the chorus, then do squats and bicep curls and plank during the verses. I belong to a line dancing group, and we have the most amazing time dancing, at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And we need that balance of strength training, cardio, and stretching. But I joke with the line dancers and I tell them that they are not sufficiently active because they're only dancing. They're not doing anything more. And you have to give your brain time to shut off and recharge during the day. So a 15 to 20 minute workout in the middle of the day can do your body so good. There's so many studies that show that physical activity releases positive chemicals. There's not one person who leaves the gym or leaves a workout saying they feel terrible afterwards. Your body needs movement to get energized. Movement matters, so we have to be sufficiently active. And I'm educating my children, my cousins, family members on how to be healthy. Both of my daughters have attended breast cancer conferences with me. All of my children have witnessed me tell my story over and over again. We've written a book together. We discuss health and eating habits. We go to local farms and pick our vegetables and fruit. I'm educating them on how to live and eat so that the next generation will be healthier and live longer. finally, my last point I want to make today is about breathing. There is healing power in proper breathing. Breathing is a missing pillar of health. We see it as something we do that's passive. We breathe, live, stop breathing, die. How we breathe matters. It's just as important as the foods we eat and our daily exercise routines. Inside the breath you just took, there are more molecules of air than there are grains of sand on all the world's beaches. We each inhale and exhale some 30 pounds of molecules every day, far more than we eat or drink. The way that we take in air and expel it is as important as what we eat, how much we exercise, and the genes we've inherited. There have been many clinical studies by neurologists and pulmonologists at Stanford and Harvard and other institutions. And what they found is that breathing habits were directly related to physical and mental health. Breathing properly can allow us to live longer, healthier lives. Breathing poorly, by contrast, can exacerbate and sometimes cause a laundry list of chronic diseases, asthma, anxiety, ADHD, hypertension, and more. Poor breathing habits can even change the physical structure of your skeletons, depleting essential minerals and weakening your bones. So think about it. When you go in for a routine appointment, doctors take your blood pressure, your temperature, they listen to your heart and your lungs. Maybe they discuss diet, taking vitamins, stress at work, but they likely do not check your respiratory rate or breathing habits unless you're asthmatic. And yet, how we breathe affects all of these things and so much more. Today, doctors who study breathing say that the vast majority of Americans do it inadequately. Starting around the age of 30, the bones in our chest become thinner and collapse inward. We lose about 12% of our lung capacity by the time we hit 50, and then the speed up declines. We're forced to breathe faster and harder, making it even more difficult to just catch a breath. But it's not all bad news. Unlike problems with other parts of our bodies, such as the liver and the kidneys, we can improve the airways in our two small mouths and reverse the entropy in our lungs at any age. We can do this by properly breathing. A 70-year research study focused on heart disease gathered 2 decades of data from 5,200 patients. The results were astonishing. They discovered the greatest indicator of lifespan wasn't genetics, diet, or the amount of daily exercise, as many had suspected. It was lung capacity. Larger lungs equal longer lives because big lungs allow us to get more air in with fewer breaths. They save the body from a lot of unnecessary wear and tear. That's the very first step in healthy breathing, extending breath to make them a little deeper, a little longer. And now we're going to try it. So just sit comfortably in your seats. Maybe close your eyes. And you want to make sure you're breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. So let's just try it. Now, at first, you may not be able to inhale at least 4 counts. Inhale at least 4 to 5 counts, and then exhale at least 4 to 5 counts. I want you guys to keep on breathing like that with your eyes closed while I continue telling you the benefits You inhale gently through your nose to a count of about 5, and then you exhale through your nose at the same rate or a little more slowly if you can. This works to be about 6 breaths a minute. When we breathe like this, we can better protect the lungs from irritation and infections while boosting circulation to the brain and the body. Stress on the heart relaxes, the respiratory and nervous systems enter a state of coherence where everything functions at peak efficiency. Just a few minutes of breathing, inhaling, and exhaling at this pace can drop blood pressure by 10, even 15 points. So this should be the first thing you do every day. Before you even get out of the bed, practice inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose. 2 New York psychiatrists found that patients who practice these slow and low breaths could blunt the symptoms of anxiety, depression, and other mental disorders. It even helped 911 survivors restore airway damage caused by debris. By building healthy breathing habits, we can stop the entropy of our respiratory systems and increase our lung capacity. We can also reduce, or in some remarkable cases, reverse modern maladies such as asthma and allergies, and even emphysema and autoimmune diseases. Scientists have known for decades that inhaling through your mouth saps the body of moisture, irritates the lungs, and loosens the soft tissues at the back of the mouth. Mouth breathing has also been linked with neurological disorders, periodontal disease, and increased risk of respiratory infection. Breathe through your nose. Nasal breathing not only helps with snoring and some mild cases of sleep apnea, it can also allow us to absorb around 18% more oxygen than breathing through our mouths. It reduces the risk of dental cavities and respiratory problems and likely boosts sexual performance. The list goes on. So I'm going to stop right here because I know that I'm maybe over my time limit. And the resources that I use to give this talk will be emailed to you by Shanda. And I want her to share just one photo with you all. And while Shanda's sharing that photo, I want to say thank you for listening. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share. I'm grateful to my doctors, my family. I had such amazing support when I was going through my breast cancer journey. I'm grateful that I've gotten to see my children graduate. That first picture you see is me with my bald head and my children. And then the rest of them, I'm showing off my yoga moves. My children are now 18, 19, 20, and 22. My youngest is graduating from high school in a couple of weeks. She just graduated Wednesday from college with her AA degree. She did her dual enrollment. I'm grateful to organizations like Tigerlily for allowing me to teach yoga every week and providing these wonderful educational opportunities. I thank God for my healing. And I pray that He continues to give me the wisdom for this trip of life. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Valencia. Thank you so much for such a, for just your words, for the knowledge that you instilled, for the breathing practices that you shared, for your story, for the power of yoga. Thank you for being to sharing and providing, being a teacher, yoga teacher for Tigerlily as well, and sharing that gift. We definitely, appreciate and continue to just thank you for the gift of you. So thank you so much. We've definitely put in the chat Valencia's Monday yoga class, which is available for free. It's 4 p.m. every Monday, so please register. The link is in the chat, so to take part as well and participate and get some of this healing and breathing exercises. So thank you so much for your participation and your, this beautiful story that is you. And we look forward to it continuing to unfold and flourish in all ways. So thank you. So now we're going to shift into our next part. Now that we are so filled with this information, I think it would be really great for us to now go into our breakout sessions. And so we're going to go out into breakout groups. We have, they're going to be pretty intimate because we have an intimate group. So that's really wonderful. We ask that you please participate and share about what you've learned from Valencia, what takeaways, were there 1 or 2 or 3 points that really stuck with you? Whether it's the breathing, it's the yoga, it's, even if it's, I think you were talking about lung capacity, the importance of that. So I'm going to ask Julia to help to put us in those breakout groups. I ask that you have patience as we do that. And for those who are going to remain in the breakout, in the main room, we're going to go into some more depth and talk with Valencia and just have a good session. So we'll see you all in 20 minutes. We're going to come back and then, we'll wrap things up. So bear with us as we move everyone around. And breathe
Okay,
while you're doing that.
So most people at this point of the pandemic are familiar with breakout rooms. What's going to happen is you're going to suddenly be moved out of this larger room and be moved into a smaller room with the patient expert and to have, like Shonda said, an intimate conversation. So, and then
we are back from our conversation. Sorry, I know that some of the conversations were cut off and they were so powerful. And, there's a lot that we were able to, share with one another and ask questions during that time. So thank you for that. So we're going to now have our patient experts share about what some of the takeaways that they received or that they learned from through these conversations. So I'm gonna ask Camille to start, and then I'll ask, followed by Lauren, and then Shanice, and then Javacia.
Okay, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries at all. I was just gonna say, if you could just share some of the takeaways, what were some points that really, that you remember from the conversation that you had in your small group, some of the breakout room? Just to let us know how it went and what.
That I'm not crazy. Sometimes they want to paint this narrative, and by the time it's painted and switched around, you think, maybe I am just an angry Black woman with a chip on my shoulder and resentment, and I probably deserve to have this cancer. So what I found is I'm not crazy. We were all concurring, like nothing but the facts. There is anti-bias, there is absolute racism, classism, sexism involved in the medical decision making with women of color and cancer. And also what I found is it's from the, I don't know if I'm using the correct terminology, the cohorts, is that they are absolutely willing to listen, actively, oh God, I'm gonna cry, actively listening, as opposed to like just autopilot going through the motions, like, oh, this Black woman's going in about her health again. Like they're listening actively with intent, with empathy, that we're still human here. We're all human beings, so nothing human can be alien to any of us, regardless of culture, class, religion, skin color, skin tone, etc. It's just nice to be heard with the intent that things would change and could change. There's layers to this. Is that, yeah.
It makes sense. That makes total sense what you're saying. And thank you for sharing that. And that's why I think it's so great to have these groups, because each one has its shapes, and the conversation is what it's supposed to be at that time, and so being able to have that conversation and to know that you aren't crazy, and that I mean, your energy and personality, and that you aren't an angry Black woman, that what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, it's something that you said, like nothing human can be alienated. If you put aside these different things, these emotions, they're human emotions. So just thank you for sharing that and being able to hold space as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Camille, I want to add this. I didn't say this, but my first oncologist was a male, and I had to change my oncologist to a female. I had done the chemo class and everything, and they wanted me to start chemo immediately. But the vibe that I got from him, I was like, no, I just, and this is the thing, just because someone doesn't intend to discriminate doesn't mean discrimination isn't taking place.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Absolutely. And your life, because you have to think, because I'm just one of these kind of willy-nilly, and I was like, but I will die. Okay. So this is life and death. The numbers do not add up. I don't have to be the smartest or the brightest, but because I'm a baseball person, so I look at numbers, the numbers don't add up. Why would that be? It's because the life doesn't have the same value. We're not going to look at clinical trials. We're not going to look at the total integrated medicine aspect, the Pilates, the yoga. We're just, just kind of like, just hurry up. And if it dies, it dies. I mean, it's cancer. I have an all-female team, like all my radiologist, oncologist, and my surgical, everything. Yeah, I thought that was important. I wanted someone that would really understand the unique needs of breast cancer specifically. I know men do, in fact, get breast cancer, but typically it is women. And breast are generally, I just wanted women. I thought that would help a little bit, but a white male, no. Not like in a mean way.
Yes, totally receive, yes, what you're saying and get what you're saying. Yeah, and that's from an authentic place. Yeah, definitely. That completely makes sense, Camille. So, thank you for your sharing. And, we're going to ask, I think I said Lauren to go next, or did I say Shanice?
Yeah, you said Lauren.
Okay, great.
And Camille, I don't know if you saw in the chat where I put it, but like every time you speak, you make me smile. Like, I am obsessed with your energy. I wish you lived closer to me, honestly. Every time you speak, I'm obsessed with you. I will say that I agree with you, and usually I do try to find medical professionals of color, just because of racial bias in medicine. That wasn't an option for me with the hospital network that I'm in and where I am and what I've got going on. But I have replaced members of my team, and my oncologist is actually, he is a person of color, but presents, like, if you didn't know him, you would think he was a white man. But the one thing that hit so close to home for me was his mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, I think like 3 months before I met him. So to have an oncologist with that kind of empathy and even for my family, for my son, because he's a son whose mother's going through that. He's like, his family took it so hard. His dad couldn't shave his mom's head, and they've been married for 50 years. Like, just something like that. I definitely understand, Camille, like where you were coming from about, like wanting a woman. But when I met him, I got that vibe. And then when he shared that personal, shared something personal instead of just keeping it like, this is what you have, this is what we'll do, you'll start in 3 weeks. Like, he was like, do you want more kids? Do you have, like, it honestly, he could not have checked more boxes. And so I just feel very blessed because I know that's not the norm. Like, literally, my oncologist gave me his cell phone number. Like, that's not the norm. And I just really appreciate that there are doctors out there doing those things and going to those links, especially when I didn't really feel very comfortable off the bat, like meeting with a man, and I had no idea what was going on with my body. I had not one clue. I thought I knew about breast cancer, and what I knew was that there was like metastatic and non-metastatic. Like, I didn't know stages. I didn't know that there were genetic mutations, anything like that. But I digress. Our breakout session was amazing. I mean, this has all been a blessing. I just really, loved everybody that was, in my room. I think I would have loved anyone that was in my room, but, just to learn so much from Valencia and just recounting, like, you know, when you're going through it, you're like, oh man, how can this happen? But you know, there, even though there aren't symptoms or there might not be signs, when you look back, you're like, oh, that was a teeny tiny little sign. And the one thing that I really connected with Valencia on was, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I am not great at self-examinations. My mom bought me a book on them. But I'm not an OBGYN. I'm not a breast specialist. I don't know what I'm looking. I know I'm looking for like differences and changes and things like that. I would have a mammogram, you know, at the top of the year, and then I'd have my annual 6 months later. So I was having my breasts examined every 6 months, and I was just like, well, that's all it's going to be, because I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've no, and I feel like a lot of people are ashamed to say, I'm quite ashamed to say, I know what I'm doing now. I know how to do a breast exam now, but before I would not have bet the farm on me giving myself an exam. So I'll say that's one of the things I learned, that I'm not alone there. And no one should ever be, you know, ashamed. Just, you know, get out there, get the information, ask whoever you can. And also just make sure that you've got, you know, a good village, a good support system. And, you know, as we've learned, you can find that online. Like, I feel so supported, like, in this space. And that I'm just like I feel very fortunate for it. Very fortunate for that.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Yes, my heart is felt like, just from you. You ladies are just awesome, and it's this is such, you can feel the energy and the love and the compassion in this space, and it's that personal connection that is being felt. So, just thank you for, you know, sharing, and each of your stories. It just is so helpful, especially even for those who are healthcare professionals to know and understand the importance of, yeah, that personal connection and a human connection. So thank you for that, Shanice.
Yes. I can totally agree with, you know, wanting to see yourself within your doctors, just to feel comfortable, even with therapy. You know, I've had some struggle with that, you know, having someone that is not, you know, a person of color, you know, I felt like they wouldn't understand, you know, what I'm going through. But in our breakout group, we talked about, you know, in addition to being Black, you know, how does it feel to be young, you know, being young and Black, you know, how serious are your doctors taking you, you know, at a young age? And we talked about always hearing that you're too young for breast cancer. And I talked about, you know, always getting a 3rd degree when I would go get my mammogram. You know, they're looking at me like, you're in the wrong department. Why are you here? And I would have to go through the whole spill of, you know, well, I've had breast cancer and yada, yada, you know. And I've also talked about having to be your own advocate. You know, you have to be willing to ask questions. You have to be willing to question the doctors on what they're telling you. And not only that, I had to fight for them to investigate what was going on with me. I had pain in my right hip, not being able to walk for 2 months before a doctor finally did an MRI on my right hip. And then the first time that I was diagnosed, I had to argue with doctors to do a biopsy. It was about 6 months later it was from June till December before I finally found out that, you know, that I was able to get a biopsy and something wasn't going on, something right wasn't going on. And what I kept hearing was, you're too young for breast cancer. We didn't think that this would happen to you. And I really feel like it was because, you know, I was a young African-American woman that I wasn't taken serious about my health.
Yeah, thank you, Shanice. And that's, you know, you really brought up some good points and areas too about being a young Black woman, you know, the adding on the component of your age and how that, you know, how that could affect just being able to be taken seriously. And yes, we do have to be our own advocates. It's, you know, I think in the group that I was in, which I think Javacia is going to speak about and share also, it's like all these different added components of layers of having to fight on top of what you're currently going through in this treatment that you're trying to, you know, fighting for your life. On top of that, you have to fight for this care. You have to fight for this. You have to fight to be seen. And, you know, it's something that I'm thankful for, you know, thank you for sharing. And hopefully, you know, these conversations will help to, not just conversations, but help to make actionable steps for people to actually change that. Because you shouldn't have to go through that as well with what you're going through. So thank you, Shanice, so much for sharing and participating.
Thank you.
And Javacia.
Hi, everyone. So I sort of like Lauren was saying, I was very blessed to have an oncologist who was amazing and listened to me. And I shared this last week, it kind of makes me angry that I feel lucky about that because it should be the norm. And while I'm very happy that I had such a great experience, I'm still angry that so many women in general, but especially women of color, do not have the experience that I had. And so I always just kind of hold up my medical team as, okay, this is the example that everybody should be following. And if your medical team is not doing this, call them out on it. My oncologist, she was so patient with me. I shared this in the breakout session. I would go in for every single appointment with a notebook and a very, very, very long list of questions. And she would sit there and answer everyone, and she never looked like she was tired of me. And I just really appreciated that. If any pain that I was having, she always took that seriously. And all of my doctors are great about that. They take my pain seriously. They don't say, oh, well, let's just wait it out, or, oh, is it really that bad? No, they say, okay, well, let's figure out what we can do about this. Something else that I talked about in our breakout group that I think is really important and not talked about enough is just quality of life after treatment, because healthcare professionals are so focused on getting you through the treatment that they forget that, okay, well, after I'm done with this treatment, I got a life that I'm trying to live. And so can you help me out with that? And that, that's from the side effects of chemo, like we were talking about earlier, the brain fog. I'm still dealing with neuropathy, but even things like how cancer affects your sex life. Like, doctors need to have those conversations with their patients. Like, they need to recognize that if the goal is to live a long life, let's make that a life worth living. Let's have conversations about what we need to do to make sure that you feel like this is a life worth living. And I think therapy is a part of that. I think connecting you with other survivors, that's something else that my oncologist is great about. She connected me with other patients of hers that she thought I would have things in common with. So I think all of these things are important, and every patient deserves this. And it just infuriates me that not every patient gets it.
Thank you, Javacia. Yes, it's so true. Thank you for that. And thank you to all of you for, sharing and talking about your experiences and what's really happening, and the importance of being able to share. And not just that, but like you said, like, it should be the norm. Like, the experience that you had with your oncologist, it should be the norm. It shouldn't be that it's like, oh, good healthcare that is how it should be, and I hope that as we continue to have these conversations, and that other healthcare professionals will continue to do this and hear and understand the reason why. I think even the reason why some of them went into the medical profession to begin with. So I just want to thank you all again for your participation and for being here and for just such a great conversation, and takeaways that we're going to put together and to be able to share. I wanted to just highlight two different things. I know that we are over time, but if you want, you could please take a screenshot of this, or I'll share it with you all later. But this is Tigerlily. We have different health and mindfulness through our Pure Cat program, different free classes for families, for patients, survivors, like anyone who's going through treatment, caregivers, that they can come and participate in for free. And you're more than welcome to sign on. I know that Denisha shared in the chat earlier about Valencia's classes on Mondays. We have a class every day of the week. So whether it's Zumba, fitness, we have a sound, a space, creating space, and sound baths. And then we have a monthly, just a dance, you know, we have a DJ dancing on Instagram. So there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved. And we really, you know, hope that you will, if you can. And even just a little bit of movement goes a long way. Or if you just want some prayers, we have a prayer circle. Prayer is also a part of it. And so being in a space where you can share and provide, you know, speak. Okay, I also wanted to just lastly, just share as well, as I mentioned, when we talk about space and being able to, sorry, one second. Okay, yes, to be in community. I hope you can still see my screen. But to be in community is, we have our Tigerlily program, and I just wanted to share again that we're launching the next cohort of the Tigerlily Angel Advocacy Training in June 2021. And we're currently looking for women, young women ages 21 to 50 who have been impacted by breast cancer, with the priority being given to women of color. Through the program, advocates can become more knowledgeable about breast cancer, the disparities that affect the population, our population specifically, and become empowered to create change, learn how to become better self-advocates and advocate for yourself and individuals in your community. So it's a really, you know, fulfilling, it's just the kind of space, the conversation that we've been having here. It's the same kind of space. So I really encourage you to participate in there. And also we have opportunities for you to be able to share your story and engage through speaking your truth, having conversations like this. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and make sure to I put that in the chat, and I will share that with you after. And then also, I just wanted to, also, I'm going to skip a little bit because we are over, but I wanted to make sure that you all get a chance to please follow these phenomenal women that have taken time to be able to share with you here today. Please take a screenshot of this to make sure to follow them, communicate with them, engage with them. Our Pull Up a Seat family, our patient experts, we are a family here. So thank you to all the participants today, and to our keynote speaker, Valencia, for just blessing us, not just with her words and her story, but also with giving us something, an action item, actionable step, something that we can do through our breath and doing that together. So thank you, and we'll definitely share that. I realize that Valencia's information isn't on here, but we can definitely put that in the chat and share that as well. But yes, take a screenshot of this, and we're going to continue the conversation next month in June. We're talking about how zip codes can kill, actually. So it's really about your demographics, right? Like your geographical location. That's also something that we don't really talk about, but geographical disparities and the effects that it can have on your access to care. And Dr. Teta is going to be speaking, Didi Teta, who is a part of Bench, I think it's like Bench the Community. I think that's what the name is, but I'll send that as well. But she's been doing a study on chemical treatments and for your hair and different conditioners, basically any different chemicals within our skincare and stuff, and that effect that it can have on our bodies. And she'll be sharing that research and data with us next month. So looking forward to having you all continue to participate in that. Have a wonderful Friday. Thank you so much to Javacia and Shanice and Camille and Lauren and Valencia, and to all of you for creating a space for sharing, for being able to share and speak about what you're going through and experiencing. Each one of your lives matters. Your voice matters. Please, Shanice has a podcast that she's collecting stories and sharing these stories. Follow her, listen to her stories. Javacia has a she writes and also does walking and meditation as well. She has her freelance business. Support these women, support each other. That's what this is about, it's more than this. Yes, this is one day, but it's more than that. This is a community. Encourage each other. Camille is phenomenal working in the synagogue and doing work with implicit bias. Definitely going to reach out to you, Camille. You have to come back and share some of those gems and stuff that you're doing, and just your light, which is just shines and lights up any space. I feel it here in Virginia, and you're in Colorado. That's just how bright you are. And Lauren, Charleston buddy, foodie, and fellow gardener, nutritionist as well. So please share some tips about how to garden. So we're gonna have to get you guys on some, definitely, like, to share more. This is just the beginning, and we're gonna continue to have this going forward. So thank you to you all. Have a blessed Friday, and just, yes, all the positive vibes to each one of you. Blessings, and yes, I hope that Shanice, this also brought some light to your rough week. Be encouraged, and know that you are supported. We have you, and we're holding you. So
Thank you all.
thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Everybody have a good weekend.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.